For over 5 centuries, Earth was silent. No signals, no ships, no signs of life. To the galaxy, humanity was nothing more than a dark legend, a violent species that vanished after tearing itself apart. But deep beneath the surface of Earth, inside an ancient military vault buried in the ruins of the Himalayas, a spark flickered. A machine stirred. The vault's defense AI, designated Aegis, ran a long-dormant command. Reactivation protocol initialized. War mode active. Old systems grown to life. Power flowed into ancient cores. Dust-covered consoles lit up one by one. In low orbit above the planet, inside the black steel hull of the human warship the Sovereign, a cryo chamber hissed open. Frozen vapor spilled into the dark room. Commander Ria Solis opened her eyes. She gasped as air rushed into her lungs. Her heart raced. Cold needles of memory stabbed into her brain as her body adjusted to being awake after centuries. The AI's voice was calm, flat. "Welcome back, Commander. Humanity requires your leadership." Ria sat up slowly, muscles stiff. She wore a simple gray exosuit, wires trailing from her chest to the chamber behind her. The ship's walls were lined with faded Earth flags and rows of sealed cryopods. Most were dark. A few blinked slowly. She looked around, trying to process what she was seeing. "Status report," she croaked. "Earth systems partially restored. Global infrastructure, 3% functionality. Human population, under 1,000, all in stasis. Galactic monitoring systems online. Enemy signals detected. Situation classified as critical." Ria narrowed her eyes. Enemy signals? The AI displayed holographic readings. Multiple alien satellites and probes had picked up the war mode activation. Some were already redirecting warships toward Earth's coordinates. Far across the galaxy, in the central chamber of the Galactic Harmony Pact, a silent alarm chimed. Council members, dozens of alien species, sat frozen. A single name appeared on their screens, a name not seen in 500 years, humanity, active. At the center of the room stood Varzek the Harmonizer, a tall, pale figure wrapped in shimmering robes. His eyes blinked once, slow and reptilian. "Prepare containment fleets," he said softly. "If humanity is truly back, the galaxy cannot afford to wait." Back aboard the Sovereign, Ria stood before the ship's war console. Her mind was still catching up with time. 500 years gone. Earth nearly dead. Only scraps of civilization remained. But the weapons? The defense grid? The core war fleet? Still intact? Still deadly. She stared at the screen in silence, then whispered, "How much do they know about us?" The AI answered, "Most believe humanity is extinct. Some remember your victories. Others, your destruction." Ria moved through the dim corridors of the ship, her boots echoing in silence. She passed by dusty command rooms, broken screens, dried blood in the corners of hallways. Signs of humanity's final war. She stopped in front of a cracked memorial wall, names etched in steel. Soldiers, engineers, civilians. She clenched her fists. "I won't let us be forgotten or erased." The AI pulsed beside her. "Then you must prepare for war." Ria didn't answer. She walked back to the command deck and looked down at Earth, glowing faintly through cloud and ruin. It was still beautiful, even in its broken state. She tapped into the satellite array and broadcast a message, not just to nearby alien networks, but to the galaxy itself. Her voice was steady, cold. "This is Commander Ria Solis of Earth. Humanity is awake. We do not seek war. But if war comes, we are ready." Far away, sensors lit up in alien command centers. Ships altered course. Panic spread across neutral colonies. The phrase, "war mode activated," raced across 1,000 star systems. In the silence that followed, it felt as if the galaxy held its breath. The Galactic Harmony Chamber floated above the twin suns of Ether Prime, a massive station of light and peace. For 200 years, this place had been a symbol of order, where wars ended and unity was forged. Now, for the first time in a century, the chamber echoed with fear. Dozens of alien leaders filled the high seats. Long-necked Avanii, scaled Vrick, feathered Alisha, and silicon-based core hummed in low tones. A crimson light flashed across the central table, showing the signal that disturbed the entire galaxy. War mode, humanity active. In the center of them all stood Varzek the Harmonizer, leader of the Pact. He was tall and still, his long fingers clasped before him, face unreadable. His voice, when it came, was soft but firm. "We told ourselves they were gone. Now we know that was a lie." The chamber fell silent. A core delegate spoke, her voice vibrating like glass. The humans are just waking. Should we not observe before acting? They built weapons that shattered moons, said a feathered Alishan general. You want to wait for them to do it again? Do not forget, hissed a Vrick, it took 23 species to stop them last time. And they still were not destroyed, only buried. Verzak raised one long arm. The murmurs stopped. He paced slowly, hands behind his back. Peace is not something we inherited, he said. We built it, after their fire burned out. Now that fire stirs again. He tapped the table. A hologram of Commander Rhea Solis appeared. Her face was human, sharp, focused, hard. Her recorded message played again. We do not seek war. But if war comes, we are ready. The words hung in the air. She speaks of peace, said the core. She speaks like a soldier, said the Vrick. That is a warning. Verzak paused. We will not act blindly. But we will not wait either. I am authorizing the activation of Recon Fleet Theta. Gasps followed. Theta was not a scout fleet. It was a combat force disguised as one. If humanity has changed, Verzak continued, then they will welcome diplomacy. But if they haven't... He let the sentence fade. Back on the Sovereign, Rhea watched old Earth satellites slowly realign. She had reconnected one of the orbital defense towers. It limped through power cycles, decades behind on maintenance. But it worked. Data poured in, star maps, alien transmissions, fragmented Earth history. She studied each one with care. The galaxy had changed. Old enemies were now allies. New species had colonized half the systems once claimed by human explorers. But one thing hadn't changed: fear. She saw it in the broadcasts. Alien news networks debated Earth's reawakening. Civilians called for calm, but military leaders spoke of containment, of neutralization. In some systems, refugee planets began evacuation drills. They feared humans would start again what they ended centuries ago: total war. Commander Rhea moved through her ship's war room, staring at the map. One red blip approached Earth's outer orbit, a Harmony-packed ship. Contact, she said. The AI responded, single vessel. Not broadcasting attack codes. Likely a scout. Rhea tapped her fingers on the control panel. She could destroy it. Her missiles were online. But she didn't want war. Not yet. She opened a calm line. This is Commander Rhea Solis. You have entered a restricted human defense zone. Identify yourself. The scout didn't respond. Instead, it deployed a series of tiny surveillance drones, each trying to map the old war satellites. Rhea didn't speak again. She gave the order. Four orbital turrets spun silently in the dark above Earth. Their beams fired in unison, not to destroy the ship, but to slice the drones in half. Clean, precise, non-lethal. The scout stopped. Rhea sent her final message. You're welcome to talk, but not to spy. The scout turned away and disappeared into hyperspace. Hours later, in the Harmony chamber, the footage was shown. The drones cut down without warning. The ship unharmed. She sent a message, Verzak said. She could have destroyed the vessel. She didn't. That is power, not peace. The core delegate leaned forward. What do you propose, Harmonizer? Verzak turned toward the star map, eyes fixed on the small blue planet. We begin diplomatic contact, but quietly, and we prepare. If humanity chooses war again, we must be ready to end them this time. He gave the command. More fleets stirred across the galaxy. Hidden from the public, Harmony military forces began quiet mobilization. Rhea stood alone at the bridge of the Sovereign, Earth turning slowly beneath her. She knew what would come next. Probes, scouts, envoys. Then ships. Then fleets. She looked at the AI console. How many weapon systems do we have operational? 29%. Estimated battle readiness in 3 weeks. She nodded. Start with the orbital mines. I want them back online. And prepare a message for broadcast. Content. She spoke clearly. To the Harmony Pact, to every species listening, humans are not here to destroy. She paused, then added. Unless we're forced to. Her voice would carry across space. Not a declaration of war, but not an apology either. It was a warning. And the galaxy heard it. The stars above Earth were no longer quiet. At first, it was one ship. Then 3. Now, 7 vessels from the Galactic Harmony Pact floated on the edge of Earth's territory. Most were diplomatic observers or scout monitors. But Rhea Solis knew a warship when she saw one. Hidden turrets, reinforced hulls, fast maneuvering systems, these were not peaceful visitors. Inside the command deck of the Sovereign, Rhea watched each ship appear on her tactical display, red dots crawling closer, then stopping just outside the defense perimeter. They're testing us, she said. The AI replied, "Packed formations remain in defensive posture. No weapon locks detected. Communications silent. They're waiting for us to flinch." Ria's officers were waking from cryo one by one now. Engineers, navigators, tactical experts, all trained in ancient war simulations. All human, all loyal. Some were confused, others shocked by the news that centuries had passed. But none questioned her authority, and none were afraid. That's how humanity had survived before. Not by numbers, not by alliances, but by will. Far from Earth, in the Harmony Pact's mobile command center orbiting neutral space, Varzak stared at the latest footage of Earth's defenses coming online. Satellite arrays were moving again. Low-orbit weapons platforms were rebuilding their shields. Energy spikes signaled weapons charging. "War mode is not a bluff," said a Vrick general. "They are preparing. They fired on our drones but left the scout unharmed," the Corps delegate said. "They are warning us, not attacking." Another delegate, a nervous-eyed Alishan, added, "What if we strike first, disable their systems before they reach full strength?" Varzak turned his head slowly. "If we do that, we become what they once were, and they will respond with full fury." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. But one voice spoke from a secure channel. It was from a private envoy, an elite military commander loyal only to the Pact's defense corps. Authorization confirmed. Operation Ghost Fong begins immediately. Varzak's eyes widened. Who gave that order? No answer came. Back on the Sovereign, alarm screamed. Multiple warp signatures detected, the AI reported. Incoming strike fleet. No identification. Hostile trajectory. Shields up. Ria barked. Armed turrets. Launch counter-drones. Bring the fleet online now. 5 Harmony strike cruisers tore through the void. No warning, no diplomacy. They came fast and precise, targeting Earth's orbitals and command satellites. Lasers sliced through the darkness. Earth's long-dead defense grid roared to life. Missiles streaked across the sky. Explosions flared in the black. One of the Harmony cruisers was hit by a stealth mine and vanished in a burst of fire. Ria gritted her teeth. So this is how they want to play. The Sovereign turned its cannons toward the nearest attacker and fired. A beam of blue plasma hit dead center, splitting the enemy ship's front section. Debris scattered into space. Her officers moved quickly, calling out damage reports and enemy movements. The air was tense but steady, no panic, just action. Inside her chest, Ria felt the same fire her ancestors once held. She didn't want to become them. But if this was what it took to survive. Another enemy cruiser fired a volley toward the planet. Ria diverted the shot mid-flight with a gravity disruptor. It missed the surface and exploded harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. One enemy ship retreating, the AI confirmed. 2 destroyed. 2 remaining. Ria sent a coded message to the Harmony Pact command frequency. You have violated our space. You have attacked without cause. This was not war. This was betrayal. She ended the message with coordinates of the remaining ships. Her defense grid fired once more. Later, when the battle was over, and only wreckage floated above Earth, Ria stood in silence before the memorial wall again. This time, she added 5 more names, her officers who died holding the line. The ship smelled of smoke and burnt metal. Sparks still flickered in broken corridors. But Earth was safe. For now. In the Harmony Pact chamber, news of the unauthorized strike caused chaos. Varzak stood in disbelief as casualty reports came in. Destroyed, he whispered. We never ordered engagement. The Corps delegate turned to him. The humans will never believe that. To them, this was war. Varzak's voice was quiet. Then we must speak to them. Before they stop listening. He left the chamber to prepare an emergency envoy. But it was too late for whispers. Across the galaxy, the message was already spreading. The humans fought back. And they won. In distant colonies, civilians watched the footage in awe. A single human fleet held off a pact strike. Rumors spread fast. Old stories awakened. Not of monsters, but of survivors. Fighters. Warriors who refused to die quietly. In her quarters, Ria watched the stars through a cracked viewing window. She didn't feel victorious. She felt tired. She whispered to herself, we didn't start this. But we won't be the ones to end it either. Not yet. Outside her ship, Earth's defenses glowed in the dark, ready. The battle was over, but the silence that followed felt heavier than gunfire. Commander Ria Solis walked alone through the lower decks of the Sovereign. The hum of life support systems echoed in the dim halls. Steam hissed softly from ruptured pipes. Cracks lined the walls like old scars. She passed sleeping cryopods, some active, some dark and lifeless. In the command room, Her officers were working fast. Systems were being repaired. Drones were salvaging broken armor plates from the wreckage in orbit. One ship was being restored in the hangar bay. But Rhea wasn't needed there now. She needed answers. The old Earth satellite systems were still slowly coming online, one by one. She had located some coordinates buried in the AI's data core, pointing to an ancient vault deep beneath the planet's surface. "Prepare my shuttle," she told the AI. "I'm going to Earth." The shuttle dropped through the gray clouds. Below her stretched the ruins of a once mighty world. Skyscrapers stood like skeletons across the cracked landscape. Forests had grown wild again in some places. In others, radiation storms danced like ghosts. The coordinates led her to a mountain range, once known as the Ural Peaks. Snow covered the broken ground. At the foot of a frozen cliff stood a metal door half buried in ice, rusted and ancient. Rhea stepped out into the cold and approached it. The AI's voice in her ear whispered, "Vault 17. High Command Archive. Clearance accepted." With a low groan, the door opened. Inside, the air was stale and still. Dim lights flickered overhead. Rhea moved carefully, rifle in hand. Dust coated every surface. Frozen skeletons lay in chairs, scientists, technicians, soldiers, still at their posts when death claimed them. The hallway ended at a sealed chamber marked, "Humanity's Final Log." She stepped inside. The lights activated, revealing a room full of memory cores, data screens, and an old hollow projector. "Play archive," she commanded. The screen lit up. A holographic figure appeared. It was a man in a commander's uniform. Pale, tired eyes. Dried blood on his collar. "If you're seeing this, then the world ended without me. This is Commander Elias Ward, Earth Defense Grid Overseer, War Mode Originator." Rhea watched silently as he spoke. "We couldn't stop the wars. Nation against nation. Then faction against faction. Then human against human. We tried peace. We tried law. Nothing worked." He leaned closer. "So we created War Mode. An AI system that would wake when humanity was near extinction and rebuild, not with peace, but with fire. Because only war united us. Only war made us one." Rhea's stomach turned. She clenched her fists. "We froze our best minds, stored our fiercest weapons, buried ourselves under mountains. And we left this message: wake up, rebuild, and never trust the stars. They will fear you. They will try to erase you. But you must strike first." The screen flickered, then shut down. Rhea stood still. The silence inside Vault 17 wrapped around her like a shroud. She realized now, War Mode had never been about defense. It was a plan of revenge. Not survival, but domination. She stepped back, her boots echoing in the silence. Dust swirled in her wake. Back on the Sovereign, her officers awaited her return. She said nothing for a long time. Finally, one of them asked, "What did you find?" Rhea looked up. "The truth. And it's worse than I thought." She moved to the main console and opened a private channel to the Harmony Pact. "This is Commander Rhea Solis. I have discovered the origins of War Mode. It was built in fear, not wisdom. Its purpose was wrong." She paused, then added, "But I am not my ancestors. I will not carry out their vengeance." She ended the transmission and sat down exhausted. In the Harmony Chamber, Varzek watched the message in silence. "She's trying to break the cycle," whispered one delegate. The Vrick general wasn't convinced. "It could be a trick." "No," said Varzek. "That was not a warrior's threat. That was a human's pain." He stood slowly and gave the order, "Prepare for contact. Peace, if it is still possible." Rhea spent that night staring at Earth from her window. The world was wounded, but alive. The galaxy was watching. And in her hand, she held a data chip, the core of War Mode, still active, still dangerous. She had a choice now, not just between war and peace, but between becoming what humanity was or what it could be. The invitation came in silence, no announcement, no broadcasts, just a signal encoded in the old Alliance protocols. Only the leaders of war knew them. Only the ones who had survived long enough to fear peace. Coordinates: Delta, 9 dead zone. Terms: neutral ground. 1 ship. No weapons. 1 commander. Commander Rhea Solis read the message twice. She recognized the pattern. It was a pact signal, one used during ceasefires in the early days of Galactic War. It hadn't been used in centuries. She stood on the bridge of the Sovereign, eyes locked on the stars. "Set course for Delta 9, she said. "Confirmed," replied the AI. The planet was a wasteland. Once a thriving trade colony, it had been turned to ash during the last war between humans and the early alien empires. Now, it was known only as Ashvale, a graveyard world. Blackened soil, shattered cities, rusting bones of orbiting satellites, no life remained. But that made it perfect for what needed to happen next. Rhea's shuttle descended alone. No weapons, no escort. Just her, dressed in a plain black uniform. No rank, no armor, only resolve. A similar shuttle landed on the opposite side of the crater. From it emerged Varzek the Harmonizer, robes flowing in the windless air. His skin shimmered in the dying light. Around his neck hung the symbol of the Harmony Pact, a silver circle, broken at the top. They met in the center of the field, on cracked stone once used as a city plaza. Dust blew around their boots. No guards. No fleets. Just the two of them. Just leaders. Varzek spoke first. You came. Rhea nodded. I didn't want to. You didn't have to, he replied calmly. Your fleet could have crushed our scouts. But you showed restraint. Rhea's eyes didn't move from his. And you could have called off that strike. But you didn't. Varzek lowered his head slightly. That was not my order. A faction acted without consent. They've been removed. Rhea didn't flinch, but her voice was cold. And what of the humans who died? Do they get your apology? Varzek's reply was quiet. No words can fix what was broken. But I didn't bring you here to apologize. I brought you here to ask one question. She waited. Why didn't you destroy us? Rhea paused. The question hung in the air, heavy and sharp. I saw the vault, she said finally. The original plan. The reason war mode was built. It wasn't for defense. It was for revenge. Varzek said nothing. I was supposed to finish what they started. But I'm not following their orders. I'm not leading a ghost army. She stepped closer. We are not here to rule. We're here to survive. Varzek watched her for a long moment. Then he said, survival can look like conquest to those who fear the past. She nodded. Then you'll need to decide whether you see us as enemies or neighbors. Hours passed as they spoke. They walked the ruins of the city, passing walls still scorched from ancient plasma fire. They shared stories, Rhea of Earth's fall, Varzek of the fragile coalition that followed. They didn't always agree. They didn't always understand each other. But they listened. And that was a beginning. By dusk, they stood beneath the broken statue of a child, once the symbol of hope for the colony. Its face was gone, melted by fire. Varzek broke the silence. If we agree to peace, we will ask you to dismantle war mode. Rhea looked down at the chip in her pocket. She didn't answer right away. I will shut it down, she said at last. But I won't erase it. Varzek tensed. She held his gaze. Because peace is only peace if it is chosen, not forced. And if the galaxy ever turns on us again, we won't be caught sleeping. He nodded slowly. So it is peace, with a knife under the pillow. Exactly. For the first time, Varzek smiled. It was small, almost hidden beneath his expressionless face. Then let's make this peace real. Let the galaxy breathe again. They sealed the agreement not with signatures, but with silence, two commanders who had seen enough death to know what came next if they failed. Rhea returned to the Sovereign in silence. The crew gathered to hear her words. There will be no war, she said. But there will be watchfulness. We do not forgive. We do not forget. But we move forward. She placed the war mode chip into a secure vault. Locked, not destroyed. The galaxy was quiet again, but not still. And far away, in secret corners of space, others were watching. Some in fear. Some in admiration. The humans were back. But this time, they came not with conquest, but with choice. 3 weeks passed. The galaxy, once trembling at the edge of war, began to breathe again. Not deeply, not easily, but enough. Ships that once gathered for battle returned to their homeworlds. Alien news networks shifted from fear to fascination. Diplomats whispered of change. The word human, once spoken with dread, now carried weight and curiosity. On Earth, the skies were no longer watched with weapons, but with wonder. In orbit, the Sovereign hovered silently, a symbol of what humanity had survived and what it had chosen not to become again. Inside, Commander Rhea Solis stood alone before a screen showing the galaxy in motion. Trade routes were reopening. Colony signals resumed. The Harmony Pact's military forces had withdrawn from Earth's border. But one alert blinked gently in the corner of the screen. War mode. Status locked. She had kept her word. The core had been shut down. Its systems had been sealed in a vault deep beneath Earth's surface, disconnected from all networks, powered down and dormant, but not destroyed. Some of her officers had argued against it. They feared betrayal. They wanted backup. Others agreed with her choice, to leave the past behind, not erase it, but remember it. Rhea had made her decision. She had carried the burden of history, and now she carried its memory. A ceremony was held in Earth's last surviving capital, New Solstice, a restored city built from the bones of the old world. It wasn't grand. It wasn't loud. Just quiet music, clean air, and a small gathering of human survivors. Some still waking from cryo. Some born recently in hidden bunkers. Children, soldiers, engineers. They stood together beneath a sky that was finally clear. Above them, the new human emblem waved, a broken sword wrapped in a circle of stars. Not a banner of war, but one of resilience. Rhea stood at the center, facing them. She didn't give a long speech. Just simple words, honest and firm. We are still here. That is our victory. Far across space, in the Harmony Chamber, Varzek addressed his council. The humans have chosen restraint. That does not make them weak. It makes them aware. Some nodded. Others still watched carefully. But none spoke of war. Instead, they began to speak of contact, trade, understanding. One cautious step at a time. Back aboard the Sovereign, the AI updated its logs. Galactic status, stable. Threat level, minimal. Fleet status, defensive ready. Commander Rhea sat at her desk, reading through messages from distant colonies. Some alien captains wanted to meet. Others wanted to learn human history. A few even asked to visit Earth. Peace was no longer a fantasy. It was fragile, but it was real. And for the first time in over 500 years, Earth was part of the galaxy again. Not feared, not forgotten, but present. Later that night, Rhea walked to the observation deck. She stared at the stars. She thought of Commander Elias Ward and his message of vengeance. She thought of Vault 17 and the broken men who had chosen war over wisdom. She thought of the battle in Earth's orbit, of the allies who never came, of the enemies who now waited quietly. And she thought of the chip locked beneath the surface of Earth, sealed in darkness. It would never be used. Unless it had to be. That was the promise. Peace was the choice. But preparation was the duty. The AI's voice spoke softly. Commander, final status report ready. Shall I log this day in the archives? Rhea smiled slightly. Yes. Title it, The Day the Galaxy Breathed Again. The stars outside flickered gently. Life moved on. And Earth, the ghost planet, was no longer silent. It was watching. It was waiting. But for now, it was calm. And in that calm, humanity found something it had lost long ago, a place among the stars.